Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another round basis picks. As always, please like and subscribe, share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It's appreciated. Now I'm gonna have to do this one I guess in the generalistic format that sometimes I do. There's not a huge amount of cards on, so I'm just gonna kind of do undercards all in one, and then we'll kind of talk about main events. I'm gonna jumble all of the top rank card just into, you know, or Eye of the Tiger management card. Yeah, I'm gonna just put all of that in with the undercard of Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall, and then we'll talk about the main event. So before we get to that, we've got Lawrence Okolie versus Lukas Rozanski, or should I say Lukas Rozanski versus Lawrence Okolie, taking place later on tonight. And I believe it's the only fight that Sky Sports will be showing from that card. So yeah, nothing to kind of warm into, no undercard fights to enjoy, just strictly get into the main event. So looking at that main event, I feel as if Lawrence Okolie has obviously got the height and the reach and the length over Lukas Rozanski, and given time and given a bit of a moment to be able to, you know, use his feet and just work that range, I feel like Lawrence Okolie is devastating with it when he has a moment to sort of think about things. The problem I see here is that Lukas Rozanski has never had a fight go past the 4th round, which automatically tells you his game plan is not to allow you to think. He's going to throw punches in punches. He's going to try and swarm you. He's going to try and find his way into the target. One thing Lawrence Okolie doesn't like is pressure from his previous bouts. That's a fair assumption to make. He doesn't like when you're in close. He doesn't like when he doesn't get the time and the room to maneuver. And in that moment, usually his go-to will be like to try and either clinch you to stop your forward momentum, to get you into a position where he's happy, maybe either separate the clinch himself to land a long strike from mid to long range, or to have the referee break it up if it's excessive. If he can get past the first 5 rounds of this fight, then he knocks out Lukas Rozanski, I would say, in about the 6th or the 7th round, purely because with the effort and the momentum that Lukas throws, I mean, it's very, very hard to keep up that kind of consistent work rate, consistent energy burning, sort of like 9, 10, 11, 12 rounds consistently. You have to take lulls in action somewhere. And after those first 4 rounds, Lukas Rozanski would definitely have to maybe take a break. I think he's 39 now, so he's not young. So those energy reserves just naturally start to deplete over time anyway. The problem is, because it's in Poland, and because they would have seen Okolie versus Cieslak and saw the amount of holding there, I don't think he's going to get given any considerations if he does end up in a clinch with Lukas Rozanski. I feel that the referee will be on him. There will be big calls from the other team. There will be big calls from the crowd to make sure that doesn't happen. They would have seen the Cieslak fight. They would have seen the Billam Smith fight, where there was a lot of points being deducted, and there was a lot of break-ins and a lot of warnings given for holding and clinching. And I just don't think he's going to be able to get away with those tactics, or even be able to use it as a separations means from Rozanski. And with all that pressure coming over the top, I don't think that he's going to be able to I just think the deck's going to be stacked against him personally. So while I would like him to be able to get that stoppage that he wants and that most people believe that he can achieve, I've just got a feeling that he actually is going to end up losing this fight. And I feel like it's going to be through an accumulation of something where he ends up getting stopped, where maybe the referee jumps in, similarly to Alan Babbage, but just a bit later on. So my prediction is that Lucas Rosansky wins this fight. Some might say by hook or by crook, but I do think it's actually, I think it's going to be a stoppage victory. And I think that victory is going to take place probably about round 5, maybe round 6, but I think within 5 rounds this fight could end up being over. It's not a prediction I'm super confident on, but just based on outside factors, based on knowledge of sort of both guys, that's what I am predicting. The one caveat to that is obviously the fact that Lawrence Okolie has been in the ring with much better level of opposition than Rosansky has throughout his career. So if he can make that experience count, then yeah, he should be able to come through it. But I just think there's too many things going against him in this fight. And not only that, he's never been in there with someone that's literally not even thinking to set up a shot. He's coming straight pressure consistently, and that is the one Achilles heel that he has. When you get in close is when he seems to either panic or seems to resort to type. So all the new tactics he's got with Joe Gallagher, even though, you know, he hasn't been there that long, this is his 4th trainer, I think, in like the last 4 years, the last 5 years. It's not a great look. I just don't think he's going to be able to implement enough things, and if he reverts to type, that is what's going to happen. So yeah, that's my prediction. Hope I'm wrong at the end of it, but Lucas Rosansky inside 5 rounds. Okay, so moving on to, I guess, the rest of the main actions from Saturday. I know Dina Thornslund is finally facing Serene Satine, who she was supposed to face several months ago. Quick one about those two. Dina is 21-0 with 9 KOs, and Serene Satine is 11-0 with 7 KOs. Long story short, Dina Thornslund been in there with much better competition, more aggressive, more championship experience, and a bit more fluid in her shots. Now Serene has got a decent pop on her, but that is against pretty much lower level opposition. I do think Dina Thornslund wins this fight. I think she wins it quite comfortably. I also think that a late stoppage could be on the cards around about round 7, round 8. But if that isn't the case, if she doesn't get that late stoppage, she will cruise and dominate to a unanimous decision. So that's that one. We've also got, I think Gary Cully is facing Francesco Patera. Yeah, I think Gary Cully needs to move from lightweight. He needs to go to super lightweight. Potentially, maybe he needs to grow into a welterweight body, because his height and his frame doesn't really bode well to being at 135. You can tell, even in his last fight, he was fighting a noted non-puncher who was visibly hurting him anytime he hit him. And obviously some of that might have been effects from, you know, the fight when he actually got knocked out. But even then, you say to say he's been at that weight, he doesn't look good making that 135 limit. So I'd like to see him move up, but I do think he should have enough to get through this fight. So I'm gonna predict that he wins it. I'm gonna say it's a unanimous decision, but it's gonna be a very safety first, risk averse approach. But please move up after this fight. Paddy Donovan is facing Lewis Ritson. Yeah, that one, I pretty much not going to say a huge amount. Lewis Ritson's best days have been behind him. I do think Paddy Donovan is going to win that fight, and I think he's going to win it very comfortably. I see a stoppage happening sort of between rounds sort of 6 and 8 in that one. Too active, to be honest. I think he's too big for Lewis Ritson, honestly. I mean, Ritson might give it a go, but yeah, I see Paddy Donovan winning that one. So that's that. I can't remember what else is on that card. Oh yes, I do. So Chev Clark versus Elizoro for the vacant British heavyweight title. Now, I know both guys very cool, very different boxers. Chev is definitely a pressure fighter, and Elizaro is more of a pure boxer, but can sort of switch to boxer puncher when he gets people hurt, but he likes to sort of stay on the outside control range, manage the distance, pick his shots and go from there. And we usually know that when those two styles come together, it's always the pressure fighter that, well, not always, but the majority of the time, the pressure fighter is the one that comes out on top, especially if the pure boxer doesn't have the necessary firepower to sort of get them to calm down and to control that distance. I think it would be a bit of a tactical battle. I do think that Chev Clark will respect, obviously he'll respect the space coming in to the entry points, and I think he's going to look to be a bit smarter with how he does end up getting into range, but I can't see Elizaro being able to keep him out enough in the first half of the fight to make it his fight sort of more down the stretch. And one thing about Chev Clark is he does have a pretty good gas tank, because even the times when he has gone the distance, he slowed down a bit, but he still maintains a very high work rate. And even if you get to sort of that second half of the fight, can you be able to, do you still have enough energy left after having to fend him off for so long to be able to go through the rest of that, to go through the rest of those rounds and make it yours and make it dominant? And do you have enough rounds left to do that? Obviously this is Ellis's first fight back after the Jai Pattaya fight, so there hasn't been any, comeback fights, no sort of gimmies, no warm-ups, he's straight back into a very tough fight. And Ellis is he's a tough dude. He's been through crises in the ring. I've seen some. I've been ringside and watched him come through mini crisis here and there. But I think that just due to the sustained pressure from Chev Clark, he's going to take over this fight quite early on. I reckon from the third round onwards, I think Chev is gonna sort of just take it over, and I think by the seventh round, I do think accumulation will have set in, and I do think that Chev will take out Ellis. So yeah, unfortunately, my prediction is Chev Clark to win via stoppage between rounds 6 to 7. Yeah, unfortunate, but that's where we are. Okay, I'm gonna move over to the top rank card real quick, because there's two fights on that card, which you got Christian Mbile against Mark Heffron. Look, I'm not even going to spend time on this one. Mbile is going to win that inside the first 5 rounds. It's going to be a knockout. If it's not a knockout, Heffron's going to retire on his stall. Mbile too big, too strong, too ferocious. He's not going to let him breathe. He's just going to come forward and swarm him all night. It's not really going to be that competitive. So that's my opinion on that one. Yeah, simple as that. Arslanbek Makhmudov, he was supposed to be taking on Junior Farah in this fight, but he's actually taking on a guy now called Mijan Rovkanin, I think his name is. He's like a last minute replacement. He's not, they're looking to basically rebuild Arslanbek after what happened at Day of Reckoning. So no doubt this is going to be a guy that they have that's tailor-made for him. It's just going to stand right in front of him. I haven't seen Rovkanin to be able to guarantee that, but I'm assuming you bringing him back on the comeback trail, that's what you're going to do for the confidence builder especially. And yeah, I see a KO for Arslanbek Makhmudov within the first 3 rounds. I'm predicting round 2, but yeah, that's normally his wheelhouse, so that's kind of my prediction for that. Yeah, so I'm gonna leave that part there. Now let's move on to Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall. Okay, so we're here at the main event of the weekend, Josh Taylor versus Jack Catterall 2, what they call it, Hate Runs Deep. I've kind of gone back and forth on this fight a few times. Josh Taylor hasn't looked good since the Jose Ramirez fight when he became undisputed. Maybe he took his eye off the ball, maybe he let certain things slip, whatever it may be. Maybe injuries and a tough sort of early part of his career got to him. Jack Catterall comprehensively beat him in their last fight. I mean, I've scored that fight 3 times. The very first time I scored it incredibly wide to Jack Catterall. I believe what scorecard did I have it? I think I had it the very first time 116, 110, I believe. And then subsequently, other times when I've scored it, I've had it as close as 113, 112, but I've never been able to give Josh Taylor sort of more than, like, what was it, 130? Yeah, I've never been able to give him, I think, more than 6 rounds. Maybe one time I think I might have been able to nick him a 7th, but he still ended up losing the fight. So with all of that, I look at that and I think, okay, could you do that badly again this time around? Now, he looked good in the Teofimo Lopez fight for the first couple of rounds, and then his legs just went. And then, you know, Teofimo took over. I mean, Teofimo was competitive in those first few rounds, but Josh just capitulated and basically was kind of hanging on for the rest of the fight. Part of that probably is due to making weight. This same 140 that he said he was going to be leaving back in, when was it, 2022. He was like, you know, it's too, you know, I can't make this weight anymore. To go through all of that and then ultimately still be here now doesn't really bode well. But Jack Catterall, as much as that, he's had the Darryl Foley fight and the Jose Linares. What's his first name? It's not Jose, is it? Jorge Linares. Sorry, yeah, Jorge Linares. He had those 2 fights, and you know, he came through them well enough. Didn't show ring rust, but didn't really show anything special. Went to points with both as well. Like, didn't really, you know, make a statement to either of those to say, yeah, like, he is the next guy up. So while he should have been the undisputed champion at 140, he still hasn't given us any performances that show undisputed. And the fact he's sort of been, or him and his team have been chasing down this rematch for so long, it almost feels like they've kind of let the career slide by, just waiting to right this one wrong. But righting this wrong doesn't get you any closer to winning those world titles that you didn't get on the night. His performances have been decent, but they haven't been spectacular as far as I'm concerned. I haven't seen a great performance from him since the Taylor fight. And to Taylor's credit, and obviously watching it on a couple of occasions, Catterall did allow Taylor back into the fight by just doing enough, managing the distance, being economic, not really stamping his authority in those rounds, especially, you know, sort of from the mid to late, apart from the knockdown round. So it did become a lot closer than it needed to be. While I still think he won the fight clearly, and there's no argument to be able to give Josh Taylor the fight, it actually ended up, when I rewatched it on a couple of times, the fight was a lot closer than I initially thought. And maybe the first time I was looking at the story of the fight as opposed to just round by rounds, because the story is Jack controlled a lot of that fight, but round by round he did actually let a lot of those rounds slip. Josh taking this fight at 140 to me suggests that he can't let it lie. He can't do the 143. He can't give Jack Catterall any excuses to say, you had to take me to a higher weight to win. I believe that he's got something in him to have one last hurrah. And I do think that this fight ultimately is going to play out to whereby both guys are not going to box to a game plan. There's a bit more emotion in this one for both. So Jack may step forward a bit more, trying to, you know, put Taylor down the same as he did in the first fight, but try to keep him there this time. I think that Josh Taylor is gonna prefer a fight that is closer between the two of them, rather than trying to chase Jack Catterall around the ring. He always does better closer to mid-range. I think that, having looked at that, obviously having 2 years to study it, having subsequent years to study the other fights he's had, they will have enacted a game plan to be able to try and nullify a lot more of Jack Catterall's work. And something tells me that 100% this is going to be Josh Taylor's last fight at 140, potentially his last fight, period. But I see him having one last hurrah. I don't know why, but something tells me that Jack Catterall had lightning strike for him in that first fight. But I don't think he's going to get the same considerations this time. If we just look at achievements and we look at overall skill and ability, Josh Taylor has proven to be the better of the two. Now, yes, he has declined, or he had looked a much faded version of himself as of late. But I do feel on this occasion, the magic is gonna come back one time only, and he's gonna do enough in the early rounds and do more than enough in the late rounds to take this fight. I think it's going to end up being a split decision again. I think we're going to get a little bit of controversy that way, but I can see Josh Taylor winning this. So my prediction is going to be Josh Taylor to win split decision. Again, it's not a pick I'm 100% confident in, but there's something in the back of my mind that's just telling me Taylor is going to take this somehow. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, leave your comments down below. Let me know who you think is going to win these. Maybe this is going to be the worst episode of Basis Picks ever, and every prediction's wrong. Who knows? But yeah, leave yours down below. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. But for right now, it's Basis Picks locked.